Welcome to Holistic Human Performance Podcast. My name is Gena Bradshaw, where we talk all things holistic health, wellness, spirituality, fitness, meditation, energetics, and so much more to help you become the healthiest version of yourself. Let's dive in. This is not medical advice. This is simply to help you on your journey through health, fitness, and wellness. I hope this helps. You can complement this with anything that you are doing currently in your life. Enjoy. Being on your health and healing journey can really be a struggle when it comes to finding foods and beverages that, taste good and also have a health benefit. And throughout my own journey, I've come across a lot, and I have found one beverage that I absolutely love, and it's based and rooted in traditional Chinese medicine, and that is Karviva Wellness Beverages. It truly is a combination of tasting good and also giving you the health benefits from different herbs and plants to nourish the body. My personal favorite are the electrolytes because I like to work out hard. I sweat. I'm in love, and it tastes so good. And there's so many different flavors. I absolutely love it. And you're going to hear from the founder in this podcast, so I hope you enjoy. And she was kind enough to give the community a 20% discount on these drinks, on these beverages. The discount code is Karviva TCM20. That's KARVIVATCM20. I hope you enjoy. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Holistic Human Performance Podcast. I'm your host, Gena Bradshaw, and today we have a very special guest with us. We have Dr. Angela Zeng. She is the visionary founder of Karviva Beverages, born in China and armed with a profound belief in the healing power of nature, inspired, of course, by traditional Chinese medicine. Angela has seamlessly blended this ancient wisdom with cutting-edge science to revolutionize the wellness drink industry. With her unique background in biochemistry, pathology, and an MBA, Angela has led Karviva to national acclaim, offering beverages that nourish both body and soul. I am so excited to learn about you, about how you brought this beautiful innovation into this world. So without further ado, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thank you, Gena. First of all, I really, really appreciate this opportunity to share my story, my experience, or the wisdom I inherited from my culture heritage, from my family, and all the years of medical training, share with your listeners. I just think it's important to get the message out, just like when we chat a little bit about your name, right? Everyone in this country come with a story.
Yeah.
I'll say, your family heritage, history, family tree, all those things are fascinating. That's I think make this culture so vibrant, so unique because we each have something different to offer. Yeah. So, well, and I appreciate the kind intro about my brand, Karviva Beverages. And I got many questions. People ask me why, right? I have years of medical training. I work in pharmaceuticals. And when I was in research, I was doing cell and molecular biology. And so
I want to pause you for a second. What even got you into kind of moving towards that direction of the medical field? Like, what got you into that?
Yeah, that's a great question. It really had to go back to when I was little, about 5 years old. So my family has quite a few person that has really deep roots in the traditional Chinese medicine. One of my uncle, he was the pioneer of studying acupuncture using modern neuroscience approach. He was a professor at Beijing University Medical School, as well as adjunct professor here at University Cincinnati. He retired a long time ago. And then one of my aunts was the expert, many publications in terms of study herbal holistic medicine in women's health. Women's health is one of, I will say, probably the most important area
Yeah.
in the traditional Chinese medicine because women's body are very sophisticated.
Yeah.
So you can see when I was little, I got tons of those influence, and I still
Mm,
remember the first time when I stepped into a herbal shop. So my mom took me to the shop just to fill her prescription from the herbal doctor, and then you can just imagine in your head this kind of little shop with the antique kind of all those cabins with little
mm,
drawers. If you ever go to any traditional Chinese herbal shop, you will see it's just fascinating. Each
mm.
little drawer has a little label on it, tells you what are the herbs, dry herbs are inside. And then the herbal pharmacists, different from the CVS or Walgreens
Oh my
pharmacies, they just
gosh.
put a little drawers like maybe lay out 10 or 5 different piece of paper. They put the things, measure them, use those old-fashioned scale, and then they put, all the herbs together into and pack them into those little bags. And then you go home, you boil a bag in a clay pot of, water, and then you
Mm.
make the remedy yourself, and then you drink it 1 time or 2 times a day, and then they really work. So for me, that was magical. That become my hobby, my toy, like the
That
Barbie
is,
dolls for me
I'm
back then.
like lit up just like listening to you talk about that. Like whenever I go into some type of, apothecary or herbalist, store, especially traditional Chinese herbalist, like my eyes just like light up. It's so awesome to just be in. It's just a vibe. It feels great to be in such a space where it's like, like this is true healing here.
Exactly. It's the aroma. It's the aroma in the air, right?
Yeah.
That herbal sense is a mixture of different herbs, spice. Sometimes we actually also use mineral ingredients. We sometimes use animal ingredients. I don't prefer, but we use it for a reason.
Mm.
We're not going to go deep into all those little
Yeah.
details, but it's almost like a time capsule for me. Just
Mm.
imagine the wisdom we inherit for actually beyond few thousand years. It started beyond our species, human, could document everything on a piece of leaf or whatever on stone. We started to use whatever we could gather to make us feel better.
Mm.
And that kind of practice tradition, it just now these days kind of got lost a little bit because people, I would say, especially in this country, we kind of like the microwave culture. It's almost like, oh, I want a dinner meal, right? I'm just going to stick like a frozen meal, right? Especially for lots of single students, right?
Yeah.
And it will be ready in 2 minutes. Well, it's the same mentality. If I have a headache, I just want that pain pill and let it go away within 10 minutes or half an hour. However, our body deserves something much more sophisticated.
Mm.
Anyway, so I would say that's something we are losing. So for me, I'm just so deeply in touch with that kind of, I would say, roots. I would say the roots of good health
Yeah.
is our connection with Mother Nature, with our surrounding, of course, with other human being, with other creature as well.
Yeah.
And that's the reason I got fascinated with life science. I went down the path of biochemistry for my college major,
Hmm.
and I came here back in 1996. So that was a long time ago, almost 30 years ago, gosh, to study, to pursue my PhD in pathology. And I did my post fellowship in cell biology, studying cancer, kind of study cell motility, cell migration movements.
Wow.
Crazy enough. Looking at
Crazy.
cancer cells under the super powerful microscope is fascinating, but it's a little bit almost scary to see those little cancer cells. They are
Yeah.
so aggressive compared to the normal cell. They move so fast, and sometimes I almost feel like they could jump out of that little petri dishes
Wow.
It is, yeah, they are definitely out of control. You can see if they behave like that, even in the cell culture, how would they behave in our body?
Mm,
But again, just imagine all those cells were once normal. They were
yeah.
normal cells. And yesterday, actually, I had opportunity to share my views on toxins with another wonderful podcast host. So I would say we actually our human body naturally produce toxins, right? It's those
Mm,
metabolism products, side products can have damage, for example, to our DNA. And that can trigger that cell turn into a cancer cell.
mm,
However, our cells, normally our body produce such kind of, I would say, precursor of the cancer cell, few thousand of them on a daily basis. I think that's based on the study. They estimate that. However, our immune cells are strong enough. If our body has a very strong immune system, the immune cells, the system is so sophisticated. It's beyond, I think we're still studying, what's the magic, what's the mechanism behind,
yeah.
but the cells will recognize those defect cells with this, piece of DNA kind of not behaving normal and would trigger, cell kind of ask that cell to die by itself, or basically, or find a ways to kill that cell to
Mm,
prevent intentional cancer cell. But under many circumstances, for example, we are always stressed out now these days. So one thing about traditional wisdom is we view our mental health a vital component of our physical health. We actually never separate the two. So many
mm,
times when you see a traditional Chinese doctor, if it is a really good doctor, this person should spend good amount of time trying to understand if you have any emotion blockage.
mm,
For example, that can be the common cause for many diseases, especially for infertility. Many women don't realize that when they're under so much pressure, the pressure they may not even realize consciously is this unconscious pressure. It is really hard to be conceived.
mm,
It's
mm.
some protection mechanism.
Right.
Anyway, there are also other, real issues, pathological issues, maybe associated with sexual organs, all those things. But emotion can be a big part of that. So, and that's the wonderful part about holistic medicine. We never separate the two. Yeah, so if you're under lots of stress and our immune system will be compromised. Another example is our digestive system. Again, that's the core focus of traditional Chinese medicine. So I would say starting about when I started to work on Karviva, that was back in 2016,
Mm-hmm.
they start to have appreciation finally of how important is our digestive organ, the health.
Right.
Before that, we were just thinking, it's just, whether you can digest food, whether you can poop regularly.
Yeah.
It's far beyond that. Now we understand the reason why, because it's all those little good bacteria. Of course, there's a good and bad. There's always a balance.
Right.
What they do is beyond they just sit there and chew on the food we put in our body, right? They especially love prebiotic fiber, the good bacteria,
Yeah.
certain fibers, is when they digest those fibers that our human cell cannot utilize, they release. So imagine this, their poops actually are the molecules, are the compounds really beneficial to our physical health and mental health.
Mm.
So, and I think the study shows 80% of our immune cells actually locate in our digestive tract.
Yep.
So when our digestion is compromised, and that can due to many factors, that can due to stress, but many times due to the food we're eating, we have so many heavily processed ingredients. Many of them are toxins because they are foreign objects to our body.
Right.
So when our cells are exposed, especially our immune cells, imagine they are all in different parts of our digestive tract, and you put something in there. For example, they use lots of chemicals to extract protein out. I know protein powder is extremely popular now these days.
Yeah.
But instead of be lazy, just get protein powder. You can either find very clean protein powder that show, they're actually, I think third-party study to show which brand of clean protein powder are very clean,
Yeah.
or you just rather cook real food,
And eat.
and eat, exactly, eat real food for your protein source.
Yeah.
But many of the compounds, chemical compounds they use to extract that protein, right, from natural food are foreign object to our immune system. So
Mm,
they will actually attack them. And this actually initiate this kind of, inflammation process,
right.
which
Right.
is in the traditional Chinese medicine, we view it is like flaming. It's like your body has this internal fire going
Mm,
out. But now we understand is inflammation, is this chronic inflammation, low degree, it's not going to kill you, right? It's not like you're going to
yeah.
die
Right.
next year. Well, but slowly your body will develop many issues. It can be first food intolerance. That's an immediate trigger sign. People should recognize that. For example, if you go to a restaurant, you eat a tasty meal, when you go back, you feel like, I'm just so sleepy. Sometimes it happened to me. Or you feel like, I'm so thirsty. I'm just like, something's not right, or indigestion. That's the
So
first sign.
I
Yeah,
want to say this because my body is, and I'm sure you would agree with this, like the cleaner that your body is, the more sensitive you are
exactly.
to other, restaurants, foods, and, we'll get into this being a conscious consumer. But when I go, so I know for a fact I cannot have MSG.
Mhm.
I literally vomit. Like it gives me an instant migraine and I vomit. But I thank my body because at the end of the day, it's like that's not good for us. That makes
Mhm.
us sick. And so that's when I know if I go out to eat and I'm like, oh no, my sinuses start to just like they get super inflamed. I start to get a headache and my body literally wants to get rid of it by vomiting. So that's like another example that a lot of people don't recognize when they go out to eat. They're like, oh, like maybe it's just me. Like, no, it's probably the food you ate.
Yes, exactly. It's the food. I think you are blessed because I can tell you are so paying attention to your own body. The
Mm,
mindfulness practice, it becomes part of you now.
yeah.
And many of us still need to practice that,
Yeah.
make it into a habit. That's how actually the mindfulness is the thing that guide human beings throughout. That's our basic survival skill. Is if
Right.
you even cannot tune into our own body and tell what our body tried to tell us, how we're going to survive. It's almost like a good example is like sometimes if I leave the refrigerator door open for too long, right? The alarm
Right.
will start to beep. Well, the current medical approach is okay, don't worry, I'm going to take out that alarm. So it's not going to
Right.
beep anymore, but I'm going to leave the door open. It's like you have a horrible headache. Okay, take a Tylenol or whatever,
Right.
ibuprofen, you'll be fine. Or stronger, the thing that can get you super addicted and kill you eventually. But instead of saying, what's the reason why you have this headache? Like you said, if it is a food intolerance, your body already learned this is okay. Jenna, don't touch this anymore.
Yeah.
This time out, let's find a way to sort that out, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
we don't like it. We don't because
Yep.
your body is so clean now, which again is a blessing for you. It's almost like you walk into a room, it's very clean. When there's something dirty on the floor, you can easily spot that. Versus if you walk in a room packed
Right.
with junk, dirty. Okay, just another piece of trash. Who cares?
Right.
Yeah. And that's the same thing. When your body has this well-balanced, the good bacteria versus the bad one, your body will send you this signal. The sensor is all working really well. Versus someone constantly exposed to heavily processed food, what happens is those processed food actually cultivate the bad bacteria. When they overtake, this is why people say, I did everything I can. I can't lose weight. I still feel not feeling well because you're not restoring the body's balance. You know, in old
Mm,
days, we say it's the yin and yang balance.
yes.
Yeah. When
Yeah, the
we don't
balance
have that
between the
balance,
two. Hmm.
yes, yes, exactly. So that's something is like mindfulness practice. It's not just about, oh, I'm sitting in front of my computer for an hour. I need to take a little break. It's also try to train ourselves to kind of recognize the different signals our body is sending us.
Right. Right. That's so important because again, the mindfulness is the a huge part of, overall health and well-being. And like you said, like how are you going to survive if you're not paying attention to that internal system that you can feel, maybe you can't, see, but you can feel it, and being in tune with that is so important. I want to switch gears a little bit though. When was that moment that, Karviva was just like brought to life? What made you kind of take that leap and start the business?
Yeah. So I will say because the days when I was in pharmaceutical, I was in business development, I saw so many products in the pipeline. It's amazing. I was just shocked to see how many medicines
Yeah.
already on the market, but in addition, in the pipeline under development, we try to find cure, so-called cure for everything you can imagine. Like, for
Mm.
example, short eyelashes, right? I'm like, okay, if I have short eyelashes, well, bad luck, but so what? It doesn't impact, my survival or
Right.
how I feel.
Right.
Even if I'm going to desert every day or whatever. But there are drugs for everything you can imagine or you cannot imagine. But however, on the other side, when I was looking into disease incident rate and prevalence rate, because that was important for me for pharmaceutical company to look at how large the market can be, right? The more sick, more disease you have, better.
Right.
The bigger your
Right.
market it is, everyone's sick, then you have the whole world.
Sick
Well,
care. It's sick
yeah,
care.
but the real statistic it is too in this country. I think on average, an adult taking 2 pills a day. That's
Yep.
just because you imagine some people probably take more than a dozen pills a day. Then some people like you takes, zero. I mean, pharmaceutical RX
Right.
product, right?
Right.
However, I that for me that was like, oh, the disease prevalence rate, incident rate are trending up, right? Even though we have better diagnosis tools, we have better treatment, and there's constantly new treatment regimens being developed, and there are lots of life-saving compounds coming out. I'm not disputing that at all. I think there are certain disease, you probably should combine both traditional
Right.
medicine and holistic
Right.
care with the modern medicine. That's definitely
Right.
necessary. However, something didn't make any sense to me. So for me, it was like, what exactly are the costs of people are not getting better, are getting sicker lifestyle? It wasn't hard for me to understand, basically find the fundamental the root cause of why we're getting
Why are we
more
sick?
issues,
Yep.
both physically and mentally.
Yeah.
And the food we're eating, not only if we're not eating the right food, not only they can hurt our physical health, obviously they hurt our mental health. I think there's a study, I read this study showing because human, especially in the past, like few decades, we overconsumed so many heavily processed food. It actually make human being more tend to make impulsive decisions. It's almost like I'm hungry, I'm going to take action right now
Right.
without thinking through the consequences. What are the other options?
Right.
Yeah, they
Right.
really go to our brain, interfere our frontal lobe, that area, how we process information and make a decision. Which is almost scary, but on the other side, of course, spending too much time on the screen, social media,
Right.
and all these things. We saw tons of study on teenagers, how that impact them. We thought they're going to be happier, right? They have so many things they can watch, get entertained, but totally not true. They are more depressed, more issues, mental issues, ADHD. I feel like we're all getting ADHD because attention span getting shorter and shorter.
Right. And everything is just like a constant influx of things just coming in. And honestly, so this week in particular, I literally was like, I need a break from social media. I just need to like chill out. I've been on the screen a little bit too much just with, you know how it goes,
Yep.
marketing and all that stuff. And I said, you know what? I'm just gonna like take a break. So I'm taking it easy this week and whatever has to get done doing that, but nothing extra where I'd be like consuming extra. It really does affect it almost gives me sometimes like this overwhelming feeling of like just my brain can't handle all of the influx that's coming in. So I'm imagining a teenager or a child where their brain is still developing, like no wonder why everyone's being diagnosed with ADHD.
Yeah, exactly. You said it so well. I'm glad you're taking this, I call it the social media detox, right? There's such terms, but it's really hard for anyone to do. I think the things that's why actually I love podcasts because you allow me to listen. Because here's
Yeah.
the thing people have to realize the essential organs on our face, especially the eyes.
Mm,
The eyes are such small organ, but it consumes the cells behind our eyeballs consumes amazing amount of oxygen and energy,
mm.
and they are super sensitive to damage like oxidations, all those things. So when we overuse our eyes, especially when you screw like down and up on your screen, cell phone, TikTok, all these things,
Yeah.
let's use that example. It is actually extremely testful tests on our eyeballs
Mm,
on this piece of delicate, precious organ we have. And that's why when we spend too much time on social media, it actually rewire our brain. People don't realize that our eyes actually process information. It's amazing. It's much more sophisticated than any computer we have now these days. We're just at the very beginning phase of the so-called AI. But if
right.
you like when I was in the laboratory, right?
Mm,
I know our cell, our mechanism of our body are much more sophisticated, not to even the brain.
right.
We're just at the very beginning phase to understand how our brain function. I would say no computer, I don't see that's going to happen in the next even 100 years that the any AI is going to, because this is millions, billions of years of
Yeah.
nature's works or God's work or whatever you call it, this
Yeah.
superpower work. You're not going to have just simple machine to reproduce intelligence level at this. However, on the other side, it is scary. We actually relied on our device to make lots of decisions.
Right.
Simple thing is like temperature, myself included. I don't go out to test the temperature using my real skin, my skin. I look at
Yeah.
my phone. Oh, it's gonna rain. Oh,
Yeah.
it's just,
Yeah.
when we're doing that unconsciously, we're giving up our own capability of sense the
Mm,
nature. That's why they say our ancestors could navigate throughout the ocean if you get lost. So because there's a part in the back of our brain area, and they actually did study to compare now these days human being, which is pretty much that domain just become inactivate
wow.
totally because we don't need that navigation, talent anymore. We don't use
Right.
it, we lose it.
Wow. Yep. Exactly right. If you don't use it, you'll lose it.
Yeah. So I'm just saying this mindfulness is about, tuning into our body, be careful with what we put in our body, and also don't ever follow the trend. Give you a good example. When keto trend first come out, I'm always very, very resist to the keto trend because for me, when I was in the medicine field, I of course I know keto. Keto is used for treating epilepsy patients that have no response to any other medical treatments.
Wow. I
Yeah,
did not know
yeah.
that.
I mean, it definitely has. I think it has its merits
Yeah.
for because everyone is different. You're different from me, and
Right.
yesterday's you is different from today's you, or be different from tomorrow's you. Because it
Yeah.
is true. That's how holistic medicine view our human body.
Right.
Every day we have a new body in certain way. And this thing is like then they use keto as a great diet methods to control weight or to control diabetes. To me, it was very, very dangerous. And now I'm glad to see more and more study. I think the recent study I read is in athletes, but it applied to everyone, is definitely when athletes super deprived, they relied on carbs, a good
Right.
ratio of carb, protein, and good fats to perform. When they don't have carbs, their body
Can't
cannot even
perform.
repair. They can't
Yeah.
even grow their muscle. They're gonna lose their muscle.
Right.
And people and sadly, especially in my region, we're famous for our barbecue, right? That give that give people a perfect excuse to overindulge on barbecue food, which can cause cancer. I mean, if you overconsume, and depends on how
Right.
you barbecue the meat, it's just is really mind-boggling for me. So I remember when I was some doing demo in Whole Foods, my local store here, I spent 20 minutes arguing with a nutritionist back then when the keto just become a trend. People in my area, the Midwest, just start to heard about it. It's how
Mm.
you guys are so lagging behind. Keto is everyone should be on it. I'm like, whoa, you better be careful because not everyone can be put on keto because this extremely low carb diet can damage their health. And the immediate effect is our body will have this stress response right away because normally our body will utilize the carbs as the energy source. When you have to convert protein or fats and make them into the energy source, into the ATP for our cells to utilize,
Right.
that process is actually a stress process. That
Right.
means our cortisol level will increase. Guess what? When we stress out, guess what? Our fats will accumulate around our ab region. And maybe not so much in this country, but if you go to some of the Asian regions, because
Hmm.
keto diet also become a trend there, you see those people, it's like very big around their center, very
Mm.
skinny, like their legs, their
Yeah.
arms
Yeah.
are losing muscle greatly. It is not good.
No, I totally agree with you. And like I e- the point of, right, traditional Chinese medicine and holistic medicine and health is about balance. And
Exactly.
every single person has their own homeostasis and their own inner balance
Yeah.
that you need to be able to tune into to understand and know that it's like always like ever changing and
Yeah.
ever evolving.
Yeah.
And I couldn't agree more with these trends that come out. I talk to, my clients all the time, listeners, students all the time about just because it's a trend does not mean that it's good for you. Like who, where is this
Exactly.
even coming from?
Yeah.
What's the source?
Yeah, exactly. Also, be really careful. That's why listen to your own body. Like my body gets along, doesn't just, I mean, I love guacamole, but I can't get along with fresh avocado. Again,
Oh,
because I would say everyone has different body type.
yeah.
Especially now I'm already in the menopause stage. I'm old. But our body changed. So for women, before menopause, our body is very yin in nature. Yin
Mm,
means, we need more, be careful, right? Especially during different seasons. We need more young kind of type of food to nourish ourselves. And
okay.
it's always a balance.
Right.
However, let's say there are lots of green detox juice or cleansing juice on the market. They're very cold in nature. They can quickly deplete our qi or vital energy level. If this person is super inflamed, has lots of young kind of in his
That
body,
fiery.
very fiery, you know what I mean? And most of the people we see nowadays, and you can talk to most holistic clinicians, they will tell you the modern days we are more yin in nature. Why?
Mm,
Even though we can overeat, the person can be overweight, still yin in nature because we are never short of calories, but we're short of nutrients. You know what I mean? Yeah,
yeah.
lots of I mean, the problem is we could be very short of certain type of minerals, or you just don't even know because
Right.
used to be the vegetables, the fruits are grown in a natural soil condition. Now is all different now.
Right.
And we also in the supermarket, I mean, just count what are the typical food a typical American eat? Probably no more than 5 or 6 type of green vegetables. Is
Hmm.
Yeah, we don't eat a diversified,
Enough.
different
Yeah,
type of.
yeah.
No, people, I think that, again, another interesting fact is they say Americans can recognize more than 1,000 logos, but less than 5 like native plants in their neighborhood. It's probably true.
Oh no.
That just tells you why mindfulness practice becomes more important because again, when people say, "Oh, I'm tired, I'm wired, but I can't sleep," because your mind constantly under this stimulation. It's like your
Yeah.
mind are dragged or pulled to so many different directions because of the stimulation from outside. When you anchor your mind to yourself, you will start to feel the calm, and that comes with a conscious practice.
Yeah, it's like training I mean, you're training a muscle. You have to practice.
Yeah,
You have to be diligent with it.
yeah,
Now, let's switch gears into like conscious consumer, right? So we touched
yeah,
on this. Because, the product that you've created, it has a combination of that science with also this holistic medicine. You know, it's like the Wild West out there when it comes to the products that are, we're consuming, we're cleaning with, we're, putting makeup on and all these other things. Kind of like what should people, a general understanding, be looking for like as a conscious consumer? Like what are some tips you have for people when they are looking to just in general steer more into that holistic living? Like what are some tips you have for people?
yeah. Number one is what you just mentioned. You went to that restaurant, you couldn't tolerate MSG, it can make
Hmm.
you vomit.
Hmm.
I would say for many people, what I heard is, oh, there's something wrong with me. They immediately blame themselves, like,
Right.
I'm probably
I'm
just
the
not healthy.
problem.
I have a problem.
Yeah.
Don't think that way. You're totally fine. Your body is trying to tell you something. Listen
Hmm.
to your body. Think about what you have put in yourself. Obviously everyone recognize if I overdrunk, right? I have a hangover, I'm not going to feel well next day.
Right.
Many food can do this similar, they can trigger this almost like a hangover type of response of your body.
Mm.
You just be really, really careful with that. So that's number one thing is pay attention, trust yourself. Don't just self-denying, thinking I have a disease, I need to get another pill. The second thing is it's really easy to decide what product you should purchase from a supermarket. If you look at the ingredient list, it doesn't take long, maybe a minute. Just look at the ingredient list. If you feel like I can cook, if I'm cooking a meal, a dinner or lunch for my family, if I can cook with those ingredients, this whatever products you try to purchase, pass the test.
Mm.
If you feel like the bunch of stuff, uh, I would never cook in my kitchen, not because you're not familiar with that it's not ingredient you typically use, but there are lots of chemicals. I'm almost like when you cook in your kitchen, you are not doing a chemical experiments like back in
Right.
the high school days or middle school days, right? You are doing experiments in the chemistry class. You add, measure different pale white powder, different colors thing, and then you put them in a beaker and see, whatever.
Yeah.
You're not doing that in
Right.
magic, right? You don't need to slice the chemicals, you don't need to chop them, you don't need to put them in your cooking wares and cook it. If you see those kind of stuff, doesn't matter if it's in your protein powder supplements or lots of supplements contain lots of fillers, very,
Yeah.
very bad for your health. People needs to be very careful with it, including the capsule can
Right.
contain gluten. Also, people, if they're sensitive to gluten, they don't even realize that.
Yeah.
So I would say just be really careful in terms of great ingredients. It doesn't take long. Don't trust what someone on TikTok said so,
Right.
or, you know,
Yeah.
because nowadays there are too many incentives to promote people to say something. may not even believe, they may not even use that product. Let's put it this way.
Which happens most
I'm
of the
in this
time.
business, so I've seen that, and I stopped using. I stopped working with most of the influencers for this reason.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't want to mislead consumer. When I first started this brand, for me, was the mission is really simple. I just want to reconnect people with root of good health. Just
Yeah.
that simple. I want to empower people that to think about, you know, what are you doing to yourself? Have compassion to yourself. That's the first
Yeah.
thing. Have compassion to yourself. Then you will have compassion to other people. You will have compassion to other creature, and definitely have compassion to nature. And now these days, many people don't even have compassion to ourselves. For example, it's like I add something, I feel bad, I feel like I'm not normal. I must have a disease, or I don't like how I look. I have to put tons of makeup to cover that up. Or lots of young people now these days think about like it is really sad. I think a few years ago, my son, now he's 14,
Mm.
they still have this kind of self-confidence issue, especially
Yeah.
among teenage age, right?
Right.
Whether their look is up to the standard, whatever how you measure it. And once he even mentioned about, oh, mom, I think I eventually need a cosmetic surgery. I'm like, what are you saying? I'm not happy with how I'm like, okay, so I did a lot of, coaching, talking, but when you spend all your day on your phone, you get that. It's like, how
You're
come,
you're
right?
comparing.
Yeah, you're
Y-
comparing yourself, especially for people. I mean, not even for people at a young age, for people our
Everyone
age,
does it.
people.
Yeah.
I mean, then we start to do self-blaming. Something wrong with me. I need a pill. I need a surgery. I need something to fix that because
Mm.
I'm horrible when I compare to another person that looks so gorgeous.
Right.
Photos,
Which most of it is fake. It's not even
exactly.
real.
Filters, just look at how many filter options you have on TikTok. I'm like,
It's crazy.
I don't use makeup at all. But if I use a filter, I can look like, oh, I put layers and layers of makeup on myself. You know what I mean? So it is crazy. It's this kind of constantly, I would say, brainwashed by
Yeah.
the message we received. It actually destroy our self-compassion.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
I would say self,
that's amazing that you
yeah,
just said that. Because
yeah.
it literally comes down. I've also said this in the last couple of podcast episodes, like when we talk about emotions and the way that we view ourselves, because it obviously has everything to do with our health. There was a research study where they were talking about the emotion of unworthiness and that feeling of unworthiness and its connection to, I believe, 60 different diseases, which is, I mean, come on. That one emotion is
Yes.
connected to, and obviously there are other variables that come into play, but I thought that's absolutely fascinating. And, you're mentioning it here, like this can be a root cause of why you reach for those potato chips or why you sit on the couch and you binge TV or, you have like these toxic relationships. Like it all plays a role.
Yeah, we can spend days to talk about it. And
I
then in
know.
the traditional Chinese medicine, each emotion is a real thing.
Yeah,
There's no good and bad or positive or negative label with it. For
right.
example, fear is associated with our kidney. I mean, again, in the traditional Chinese medicine, kidney is not just an organ, it's a system.
Yeah.
So, for example, the kidney system rules sexual reproductive health. It rules our part of our emotion, especially related with fear. And then the lung is related with sadness.
And like
Heart is
grief. Yeah.
brave, like you said. And then the liver is like anxiety, anxious. So actually, for many women suffering severe PMS, it's usually there's a problem on their liver energy channel got blocked. So
Mm.
there's ways through, herbal remedies or self, like a acupuncture point massage. You can do it yourself or go to an acupuncture therapist to get that. You can get a good relief instead of rely on sometimes doctor just give you birth control pill, which
Right.
doesn't do
Which is a whole other topic of discussion. I might have to bring you back on to talk about
Yeah,
it.
I mean, another thing is like if you over consume birth control pill, I think the study showed actually can cause it can lower because it change our hormone system for women and can
Right.
lower our immunity. Again,
Right.
when our immune system are compromised, of course, we're more prone to all kinds of disease,
Yeah.
including cancer.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So, okay. Oh man, you're awesome. Um talk
And
to
the
me
thing is,
about
people need to have self-compassion. It's that
yeah.
when I first started, like I did so many demos in store and I started talk to shoppers who I have never met. I never met them. After a few sentences, I met few start to cry in front of me. I could tell they have this emotion, whatever emotion they held up for so long because the judgments were perceived how I'm going to be judged.
Yeah.
We had to hide those.
Hmm.
We don't want to be viewed or stable as I'm always inactive, I'm always sad, I'm probably depressed.
Right.
Sometimes just let those emotions come out, release them. Doesn't matter if you're happy, you're sad, you're angry. Um,
Let them flow.
let them flow. Don't block
Mm,
them.
yeah. Because the body always keeps the score.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
So tell me about what's in Karviva. Like, what is in the actual beverage? Because I know there's herbs in here, non-GMO, organic. I'm so curious, and I cannot wait to try
I need to send you
also.
some sample. Yeah, I'll send you
Please.
for you to try. I'm curious to see how you think, Well, most people love it, not because they taste like ice cream. Smoothie king smoothie, right? Here's the thing. What I try to do is beyond just clean natural ingredient. I
Mm,
really want to focus on this balanced approach. The
mm,
balance of yin and yang. I mentioned about, for example, lots of juice cleanser on the market. You can talk to, I think, because I still continue to train myself, take those courses, but I think there is a study again to show by different holistic doctors, when people, especially ladies, like to put themselves on juice cleanser all the time,
detoxes and all
detox,
the things. Yeah.
they really deplete their body. They become even colder. Their body energy becomes even colder. They don't
Okay.
even realize that. That can give some lots of issues. So what I try to do is we do believe that daily cleansing is important. For example, I love mung bean sprouts, and I definitely will share that juice with you. We have the detox, not make you to go to the bathroom all the times because mung beans contain these two natural compounds, biophysically chelates, so they bind chemicals, especially heavy metal compounds
Oh,
and chemicals.
okay.
So that's how it detox, and it has been used for thousands of years
Right.
for many reasons. It's not make you go to the bathroom 5 times a day. That's really bizarre.
Yeah.
So that to me is like you need to have a balanced approach. If you want to get rid of the toxin, at the same time you also want to put in the nutrients. You want to nourish the person at the same time take out the toxins, the unnecessary
Mm,
buildup in this body. So that's basically I try to use this approach, and everything is natural. The other thing is I don't even use sugar for cooking. Sometimes I need the sweetness. You can use natural fruits. I can use my
right.
juice,
Right.
marinate whatever. If my kids they still love meat and I give them meat, right? So I can marinate that. It helps to break down the meat, make it tender too. There's so
Right.
many ways you can just be mindful in terms of how you use it. So for me, is this food synergy is really important. Again, if you look at the traditional herbal remedy, we put different herbal ingredient to treat different disease. And the interesting thing, and again, that's another month of talk. People spend years to understand that. There's like two classic remedies that was more than 1,000 years ago, well developed for different, one for cold, one for treating digestive issue. Same 5 different herbal ingredient, but the ratio is different and they do
Mm,
different things.
Mm,
And so for me is the synergy, that kind of things you have to understand, not just I call it the kitchen sink approach, lots of juice product. You just dump everything
right,
trendy in one bottle. I give
right.
that to you. I'm like, I don't know what to say.
I know.
Yeah, but I'm a very small brand. I'm always learning. I would say I'm always learning from the people I serve because they're the one who matters. But I think the problem with it is a big problem with functional food industry now these days is always try to make the not next hot trend
Right.
because the trend is the catchy words is the one they can do marketing, they can do the sales pitch, which is actually ironically can be super damaging to some people's health.
It's so true. I mean, well, if you think about it, really, what's their end game? To make the most amount of money and to have like the most power over the market. So, I mean, that is unfortunately what we are dealing with. And it's kind of like the big food industry and the big pharma industry are sleeping in
Yeah,
the same
that's why
bed
when I
together.
come to the food industry, I'm like, many of them just like the drug company.
Yeah. No, it's but I'm glad for people like you who are making their way and headway in this industry because it's so important for people to understand this where it's like, hey, you can't just like you really can't just go into the supermarket, especially if you're just trying if you are focused on your health, to go in the supermarket, not read any ingredients and just put it in your basket like that's not going to work. You have to be a conscious consumer. And yeah, I'm just so excited. I could chat with you for hours, I swear. I'm probably going to have you come back on.
Sure. I would love to share more. Whatever
Yeah.
topics here you have, we can talk about summer season, seasonal change. Pay
Actually,
attention to
wait,
that.
wait. I do want you to touch on that a little bit because we are going into summer season because I know I wrote about the five elements in my book. Yep, I'm a
So I
huge
need to get your
fan.
book.
You would love it. Just like based off our conversation, I'll yes. So it's called A Survivor Story, and I talk about the five elements of I learned this from my acupuncturist and
Oh,
just
awesome. Yeah.
yeah, and he taught me so much and so I was like this is important like people need to know about this. And so can you like briefly because we are headed into especially in the Northeast we're headed into summer season. So can you talk about what is entailed in like what's the energy of it and like what kind of foods would be best for this summer season
Yeah,
elements?
exactly. So we're kind of at the end of the spring. Spring is the wood season. We all know about it because wood is growing. And for people who have a very imbalanced body, in spring can feel super anxious. It's almost like having an anxiety attack. But if you're well balanced, super creative. So
Mm,
actually, lots of, if you look at for teenagers, if they emotionally feel like so many restless, anger, one way to channel that could be a sign you have a teenage kid at home super creative. Instead of sending this kid to a psychotherapist or whatever, find creative project for this kid to work on. You'll be surprised.
mm.
Yeah, that's actually not a bad sign. It could be a good sign.
I
Just
love
recognize
that.
that. Again, that's being mindful. Summer is the fire season. We all know that part kind of dominates the summer. So for the summer, actually, I would say the rules change from now these days from the ancient days. In the
Okay.
ancient days, we didn't have air conditioning.
Mm.
Now these days we have air conditioning. So one of the issue I commonly see is, our body, especially you can see the skin is our largest organ, right? Is how we communicate with our surrounding. We communicate not just with our eyes, with our ears, nose, mouth, but also with our skin.
Mm.
So when we're in a very hot, it's almost like sauna room or in a hot summer day, all your pores are very open. You want to lower the body temperature by sweating naturally, right? So, but when we constantly shift from outdoor to indoor, what happens is we kind of, our body feels like, oh, cold shot and close all the window, close all the door. And then you kind of block all those. It's almost like you block this natural detox.
Mm,
So, so it's almost like people can easily get heat shock. They don't
mm,
realize it's not like you walk in the yard or outdoor for hours, a hot steaming day, you get heat shock. You can get a heat shock by sitting in your office, especially let's say in the late afternoon, you feel like I have a headache. I'm just like not feeling well, nausea. That could be a sign. And then what you can do is just let your body sweat a little bit. Or you can use natural food. I would say hydrate yourself, but not just simple plain water. I
mm,
would say the best way to we call it the life water. That's the water comes in natural food. For example, watermelon,
mm.
there's those coconut water that comes in the natural, is any fruit that's juicy. It gives you this deep instant hydration versus sometimes we all have that feeling, right? You drink a glass of water, you feel like that water just sits in my stomach forever.
Right.
Yeah, and if you read deep into the traditional Chinese medicine, actually there's a whole theory about it. Why our body cannot utilize that water, right? So instead of that, you consume water that's in the natural form, our body can easily utilize that. That gives you better hydration. That's also why they have those sports drink. They put even though many of them are chemical
The
electrolytes,
electrolytes.
but
Yeah.
yeah, it's almost like IV fruits, right? I mean, it
Hmm.
comes with some minerals, glucose, other things, so your body can utilize that right away. It's more like the natural fruit in your body, not
Right.
just plain water.
Right.
So just keep that in mind. The other thing is, for example, I go back to the mung bean. Mung bean is very famous in East Asia for treating heat shock. Mung bean is just amazing. I mean, I feel like everyone should.
Sounds
You can
incredible.
easily grow mung bean sprouts yourself at home, and it's cheap
I
and
love
it's
I
good.
love the sprouts. I always have them.
Yeah, yeah, sprouts. It's so broccoli sprouts, afra. There's so many sprouts, so important for us. So I
Yeah.
would say summer, pay attention to that. And then if you really feel like tired during the day, take a power nap.
Mm,
Especially I would say around one-ish. It cannot be long. Sometimes if people take like a nap, they wake up, they feel even more tiresome. But a short power nap will really recharge you, benefit,
mm,
because the hot weather can be really depleting and our body's energy try to go up all the way to your head. And because of this AC controlled environment, is our body can get really, really confused all the
mm,
times. Yeah.
mm.
So summer, I will say just again, we always like say rise with the sunrise, and you can go to bed slightly later. Unfortunately, I don't even follow that rule. I think I work myself too much on computer. Due to
Honestly, I feel you
it
on
is
that.
you're supposed to go to bed when the sun
Is
sets.
going down. I know, I know.
Yeah, not
But in
stay until
in the
11, 12.
summertime, like you said, it's that fire energy. You're like, I want to be outside. Like
Exactly.
I love to, especially in the summertime when it's lighter out for longer.
Yeah.
I love to just like decompress with like a walk and just like go
Yes.
outside and
Yes.
just
Yeah.
enjoy the sunset, even though it's
Yeah.
later, like that's okay. Again, your body clock will tell you to. We just have
Yeah.
to listen to the signs.
I would say take a walk is great to do in summer. Don't feel like you have to run every day to be super healthy.
Yeah.
Running is great if
Yeah.
that's something good for your body, but I would say sometimes for some people, running may not be good for you. I would say, again, be mindful.
Yeah.
If running hurts your knee too much, hurts your joints too
Don't
much,
do it.
and don't do it. For a small group of people, running too much pounding, constant pounding on the hard ground can even cause anemia, believe it or not.
Oh,
It is.
that's so
There's a medical term
interesting.
for it. Yeah. So if you feel like I'm always anemic, I'm running a lot, make sure you can check
Huh.
out. Yeah, it is. I would say it's not. It's again, you are unique. One thing
Yeah.
about this self-compassion, you are very special. You have to remember that. You come to this world for a good reason. You're very special. You're different from others. Don't feel like you have to look or act as someone else to be
Yeah.
good. No, you're
Mm.
yourself. appreciate your own body. I would say running is great for some people like myself, like now these days I don't run, I just walk.
Yeah.
And if you do good amount of walking, any movement is good. There's
Any
no
movement.
there
Oh,
is no nothing to say you got to do again. It's like you got to do this high intensity training. For some
mm-mm.
people, they're recovering. They have
Hmm.
issues. They have other, joint issues. They have maybe some disease they are battling. They can do those. I would say
Right.
tailor to your own needs. Yeah.
Yes, I love that. Thank you so, so much for coming on. I truly appreciate all your wisdom, your knowledge, for sharing this with us. And as we wrap up, where's the best place people can find you?
So actually, in East region, we're in the retail like Stop and Shop, Giants store, those places. But you can find us online, Karviva, that's KARVIVA.com, Amazon, Walmart Marketplace, and I'll give you listener a coupon code 20% off. I'll
Oh,
share
thank
that with you,
you. Perfect. Yes,
and
I'll
I'll
put
send you some drink for you to try.
woohoo! Can't wait. I'm gonna put all of that in the show notes so people can find that and utilize the discount code. Thank you so, so much for coming on. I truly appreciate it. And if you guys like this
No, thank
episode,
you for allowing me.
yeah.
Yeah.
And if you guys like this episode, like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.